Donald Trump finds himself doing damage control on several fronts, and less than 4 weeks before Election Day, the timing couldn't be worse for the Trump campaign. So why are we hearing about allegations of unwanted advances years ago now? The New York Times was first to publish the claims, and the Trump camp is firing back, saying, quote, "This entire article is fiction, and for the New York Times to launch a completely false, coordinated character assassination against Mr. Trump." Let's talk about it with David Avella, the chairman of the Republican Political Action Committee, GOPAC. Julian Epstein is former legal counsel to the House Judiciary Committee and former staff director for the House Government Reform Committee. Welcome to both of you.
Thanks.
So David, the Trump statement says this entire thing is fiction, but is the damage already done?
Damage is certainly being done. Look, Hillary Clinton knows the only way she's going to get elected is to make Donald Trump more unpopular and more unfavorable than she is, and thus make sure the Republican base stays divided. If Donald Trump was ever going to open up his pocketbook with a large paid advertising campaign, now's the time to do it. The only way he is going to get his message about Hillary Clinton out and to get the conversation on her and not him is he's going to have to pay for it. He's not going to get it through earned media coverage.
Julian, the fact that it wasn't just the Times, there are 3 newspapers that come out separately with accounts of different women who say that, you know, Donald Trump made unusual or unwanted advances. The fact that those 3 separate papers all come out at once seems a little coordinated, seems a little too convenient.
Well, I understand that criticism to some extent. I mean, on the political timing. I mean, somebody could point out that for years Donald Trump has made crude comments about his approaches to women, and that there have been many women who have come forward and spoken about those, so why all the attention now? So I think to some extent that criticism is fair. On the other hand, what's different about what happened is you have a new tape that dropped last Friday where Donald Trump describes much more specifically his kind of unwanted groping of women. He then denies that he ever did it, and then you have a number of women that come forward and confirm his original account. So it's kind of, somebody said on Twitter this morning, you would, in order to discount this story and the newsworthiness of it, you would have to not just discount all of the accusers, but you would have to discount what Donald Trump himself kind of said about his own kind of unwanted groping of women. So, you know, look, I think you can make the case that this stuff has been out there for many years. It has, but he has fed into this thing in the most extraordinary of ways, the most unprecedented of ways. I mean, we would all admit we've never, ever seen a kind of implosion the way we're seeing in a presidential campaign now.
But David, I talked to a guy who has prosecuted a bunch of sex crime cases. He's a prosecutor, and he said that, you know, adults don't tend to hold back on these stories, and suggested that, as Julian said, that maybe the revelations from the Access Hollywood tape all of a sudden sort of caused a bunch of people to run forward with accounts, stories, whatever you want to call them, that sort of fits the MO that they heard, suggesting that they're basically embellishing the stories.
Only they can tell us whether that is the truth. But look, we're in the era of tabloid politics, and you're either being gossiped about or you are spreading gossip. And that's what we're facing here, and it's why Donald Trump needs to get the message back on Hillary Clinton. Look, just this week we found out what the Clinton campaign and her top advisors really think about Catholics. And what's that tell us? Not only do Democrats not like the Second Amendment, but now we're finding out they don't like the First Amendment.
Julian, you were making some remarks about my earlier comment that we didn't hear.
No, I don't think it's that the women are conforming their story to what they heard Donald Trump describing. I think what would be frequently the case is that the women were coming forward because of his denials of what he had described as his behavior in his earlier comments on the Billy Bush tape. So I think that might be more likely the case. But in terms of, you know, the conspiracy, John, I mean, it's not a conspiracy that the Speaker of the House is now saying that he will not campaign for Donald Trump. It's not a conspiracy, certainly a left-wing or a media conspiracy, that 1/3 of all U.S. senators are saying that they will not support Donald Trump. I mean, these are Republicans, lifelong Republicans, leaders of the Republican Party that are saying they cannot support Donald Trump. And, you know, look, I think at this point it doesn't matter anymore. I think this election is essentially over. It's almost impossible for Trump to come back in Florida, in Ohio, in Pennsylvania, and North Carolina, all of where he's significantly behind. And for him to come back with this kind of deficit, he's got a negative 34% approval rating right now in the polls, much higher than Hillary Clinton's. I mean, is next to impossible. So I think at this point this is kind of academic. And as I said on this show before, I think any of the other Republican candidates who are running for president could have won this year. I think the only candidate that Hillary Clinton was almost assuredly going to win against would have been Donald Trump. But any of the other, because of the weakness that she has, her weaknesses in the polls, any of the other candidates, any of the other 17 would have had an excellent chance at winning. And it's a shame for the Republicans that they put up the single weakest candidate that they possibly could have.
And yet 70% of the American people say this country is on the wrong track right now.
Correct. Correct.